What is up, Sheepdog Nation? Welcome to another episode with your host, me, Autumn Schmidt. I'm really excited to have you here. Today's podcast episode is going to be how to set yourself up for success right from the beginning so that if you were to get injured in the line of duty, then you're going to be set up for success. Specifically, we're going to talk finances. So tune in, turn it up. If you're around little ones, you may want to put headphones on because I do tend to swear. I want to let you know that today's podcast episode is brought to you by the Sheepdog family group. It's a Leo only exclusive group monitored by yours truly. And we have I think we have about 20 officers in there from all around the world right now. And these officers, they're all going through life-changing transformations. We have officers getting promoted, deciding to change agencies, multiple actually officers switching agencies because they want better. We have some officers developing side hustles, some officers getting into jujitsu, doing more firearms training. We have so much going on in there, and it's amazing. And if you want to be a part of this exclusive group, be a part of the transformation, get the support when you need it, be able to go in and vent with people who you're not going to get jammed up because the group is completely off any kind of social media, and you can put an anonymous name on there if you want. Hit the show notes below. You'll see the link, or you could go to the sheepdogfamily.com/join. Okay, so the reason why I want to talk to you about getting yourself set up for success is because a lot of cops are not. Okay. And yes, Dr. Gilmartin does talk about this in The Emotional Survival of Law Enforcement. That book, if you have not read that book, it is a must. But the reason I'm going to talk to you about it is because I experienced it. So when you get injured, so I want to just talk to you about this. So, because it might not be something that you've thought about, but that's what this season is all about. I am preparing you for shit that you have not thought about or you haven't thought deeply about. So, the thing that you need to remember here is that you need to remember that you need to CYA at all times. When you get hurt, okay, every agency is different, okay, which is true. But what happens is a lot of times, unless you are in one of those unique agencies where you end up making more money when you're injured, but a lot of agencies, you end up making less money when you're injured. So for me, when I had to go out on short-term disability, that's all I got was short-term disability. So I got a considerable pay cut. Some people, like my husband's agency, I know that if he goes out and I don't know the specifics, okay, so you can't quote me directly, but I know that you can go out for short-term disability, or you can go out on workers' comp and collect short-term disability, and you make more money being hurt than you do working the road. So I hope that, if that ever happens to you, then you get to be in that situation. However, we can't always, we can't plan and predict that. So my suggestion here is for you to always prepare for the worst. And some ways that you can do that are going to be as following. The first thing is your finances. So finances tend to be where cops get themselves into a little bit of trouble. Okay. And I am going to give you a disclaimer and let you know that I am by no means a financial expert. I am not a millionaire, not yet. And so just understand that. But I'm telling you this because my husband and I, we've set ourselves up for success in the following ways. And I just think that all officers could definitely benefit from this. When we were renting an apartment, okay, so prior to buying our home, when we were renting an apartment, and I'm sure that many of you listening to this can, you can relate to that, right? When we did that, we made sure that our rent we could rent that and pay for all of our expenses and all of our bills on one income. Okay. And that's really important. And because you need to be able to do that with your home too. But starting at the apartment level, I think we were paying like $1,000 a month. And obviously, like we split that, but we made sure that if anything were to ever happen to either one of us, we had enough in savings, we had enough money coming in that we could pay for everything and it would not be a problem, because you never know. And when we got our home, I'm going to tell you, and this is going to be really hard. Like, this is hard for a lot of you, and I get it. It was hard for us. It's still hard for us. But when we bought our home, we bought a fixer-upper. We bought a foreclosed home. And the reason why we bought a foreclosed home was because we needed to be able to, one, like it has everything I wanted. It has where we sit on a big chunk of land. We sit on a pond, so we have lake access. We and the house has 3-bedroom, 2 full baths, which those are everything that I wanted and he wanted. And so it has open concept, which, guys, the open concept kitchen, we needed that. So anyways, so we got this house, but here's the thing. It was a foreclosure, and it is in really bad shape. Okay. Like structurally, it's in great shape. But the thing is that like we had to go through and like, guys, listen, there was carpet in the bathroom. Now, what do you think happens to the carpet around the toilet? Ready? Blah. Yeah, exactly. So we had to rip up all this disgusting carpet. We had to repaint every inch of every wall, every ceiling. We've had to redo the trim. We've had to go through the bathrooms. I mean, we had to put new appliances, blah, blah. But here's the thing, you guys, is like there's so much left to this house that we need to be doing and we need to be fixing up. And we just haven't got to yet because we base everything off of one income. And the reason why that is hard is because you go to other officers' homes and they're beautiful. They have granite countertops, tile floors, beautiful, massive homes. They've got big garages. Some of them live closer to the city, whatever. And so it is hard. It's hard for police officers, as well as like, cause we go to shitty houses like all the time. Right. And like, we definitely do not want to come home to a shitty house or a shitty apartment. And believe me, when I tell you this, Sheepdog, like I know that feeling very well. And my husband does too. Like we've openly talked about it. And being police officers, right? Like we don't have a ton of time to like fix up the house. And like, let me just tell you this, you guys, not only do we have to fix up the house, last summer we had to completely replace our front lawn, and our front lawn is like 1 to 2 acres at least. And our back lawn is probably, I would say maybe a half an acre, 3/4 of an acre. So like we have to replace we replace the front. Now we have to replace the whole entire back. Maybe our back's an acre. I don't know. So just understand, like, I completely understand, going and having to do like, kind of like put your tail between your legs, right? Like kind of just getting like super humble about where you're at and like what you can afford and not having the best rate up front. And like, so just understand, like, that's where you're going to get set up for success, is going to be swallowing your pride a little bit, maybe not having the biggest and the most beautiful home right out of the gate. Maybe you and your significant other, or maybe if it's just you, but I'm thinking a lot of you have a significant other, you buy something that isn't obviously the Taj Mahal in the beginning, but you just, you buy something that you can afford on one income. And that is so important because I can tell you, like, so when I got hurt, we went a couple of weeks and there was no paycheck for me. Now, luckily, because we have our home, like I just discussed to you, and we can pay for this, all of our bills on one income, we were comfortable. We're fine. We both had a savings. Like, it wasn't a big deal. And, at the time, I think I was doing my side hustle. I was a Beachbody coach. And so I was making money weekly that way too. But, so we were set up. But I've got to tell you, I know a lot of officers that are not set up. And so let me just tell you what happens. Okay. The stress of your finances. You know what happens, but I'm just going to reiterate it to you. It can come between you and your spouse so easily. And this is such a fight, and it's such a thing that I hate seeing come in between, spouses, and, it's awful, but it causes relationships to end, and it causes people to get divorces. And unfortunately, that's the truth. And because, that's stress of like not knowing how you're going to get by, not knowing what you're going to do. And then on top of the fact that you're fucking hurt, you're injured. So you're so frustrated because you're like, oh my God, yesterday I was making money. You know what I mean? Like last week I was 10-8, feeling great, doing my thing. Next thing I know, I got a back injury. I'm laid up. I can't move. I cannot stand for long periods of time. I cannot even sit for long periods of time. I have to be laying down. What the fuck can I do laying down? Like what kind of job can I do laying down? I can't go, walk around on cement, and I can't do this and I can't do that and blah, blah, blah. Like you become very frustrated, and then you get really in your head, especially if you're the person who's laid up. You get really in your head and you become very angry. Then what happens is your spouse is out there working really hard to support you, right? And support the family and the household. And they're obviously very worried about you. And then when you see each other, you being the injured officer, you are so grumpy and a freaking fruitcake because you've been in your head all day long, right? Laid up, pissed off, maybe going to physical therapy and this and that. You're so like pissed that things become worse and worse between you and your spouse. That's not a good thing, right? And it's stemming from there's this unneeded stress because you had to have the Taj Mahal, you had to have this fucking truck or this sports car that cost $50,000-$60,000, and you didn't have any money to put down on it, and like you couldn't afford it. I've seen a lot of officers do that. Like, you guys probably have seen this too, but when I used to work for my old police department, it was, we had a ton of turnover. The turnover rate was crazy. So we always had kids going to the academy and shit. And it was so funny because you would see about, 1 to 2 weeks out of the academy, they'd have a brand new truck, brand new. And it's funny because we'll see like in Maine, I'll tell you this, in Maine, like you go to the academy for 18 weeks and you're getting paid. And you, from Monday through Friday, you're not spending any money because you're at the academy. And the agency is not only paying for you to go to the academy, the agency is actually paying you your hourly wage. So you only are paying for whatever like bills you have to live and like whatever you do on the weekend. So a lot of police officers, can put away a lot of money during that time. And so then they come out and then they empty their fucking bank account. Got to have the biggest and best truck or the biggest and best vehicle or whatever car, the fastest car and stuff like that. And here's the thing, especially if you're a rookie, I just want you to be thinking about that, because if you are not setting yourself up like for success, like you're going to end up finding yourself in a really bad situation and losing the things that, really meant a lot to you. I know a lot of cops run out and buy a motorcycle, which I can't figure out. I can't figure that out. I will tell you this. I'm 100% against motorcycles. I totally am. So we're going to have to agree to disagree on this one if you are gung-ho motorcycles, because I've seen what happens. I've seen the crashes. I know my old chief, he became paralyzed from the waist down off of a motorcycle crash he took. He's doing it on his own time with a bunch of cops, and they were all just cruising, and they all had their wives, and he was the unlucky one. And I know another cop herself hit a pothole and fucking she got killed, and it broke my heart. Broke my heart. She was my school resource officer and I really liked her actually. And so, I'm really against motorcycles, just saying. But I see a lot of cops go out and get them, especially what do they call them? Crotch rockets. The ones that go really, really fast because we are stupid adrenaline junkies by nature, sheepdogs. um, we got to be thinking about that, again, and I don't mean to, beat a dead drum and stuff like that. But like, here's the deal is it's true. And I need to pound this into your head before you make any more stupid decisions. You don't need to go and buy all of this shit. You need to be smart. You need to be tactical about how you're going to spend your money. Stop getting the typical cop mindset of I work really hard and I deserve all this. I am in the line of duty every day and I could die any moment. Yeah, you absolutely could. And so I definitely believe that there's a balance of YOLOing, you only live once. Totally. Definitely a balance of it. Just be prepared so that you can understand that if you do not set yourself up for success, you could get injured and then fucking everything goes into foreclosure or your house goes into foreclosure, you go into bankruptcy and you're fucking depressed. I know officers. There was this officer I used to work with who I really had a good time with. He's a veteran officer, been a cop fucking more for longer than I've ever even been alive. And he had gone through two divorces, and he didn't get his finances squared away, and he had to literally empty out his entire retirement. Like, he had like a 30-year retirement, you guys, and he like had to empty it, and he like, it's just awful. So now he's gonna be working until the day he drops, and that's another thing. If you're not thinking about like your finances from like you getting injured, like think about it from like a retirement standpoint. Okay. You want to be able to retire. Hello. You're working like a dog right now. You're going to be working like a dog for your whole 20, 30 years of being in law enforcement. You got to be thinking about that stuff. Okay. That's where the side hustle comes in. We talk about that. I did a whole hour talk on that in the Sheepdog family group. Go, get in there, pay the $35, get in there and go listen to it. It's way worth $35. I'm telling you right now. Go start yourself a side hustle. Get prepared. Think about the things now that you would do if you ever got injured. This is as much as some of you are like, this is not what I want to be thinking about. This is the warrior's mindset, my friends. The warrior's mindset is just preparing the warrior for any, outcome and anything that could ever happen. That's what the warrior's mindset is. And if you are not asking yourself, what could I do here? What could happen? Here's what I would do. If this happened, this is what I would do. If this happened, this is what I would do. If you are not preparing yourself for any and everything that is coming your way, you are not a fucking warrior. And I'm sorry. And listen, I would be lying to you if I didn't pull some of that naive bullshit myself. I absolutely did, dog. And that's why I'm telling you right now, don't do the stupid shit that I did. Don't do that. Don't think that it's never going to happen to you. Don't go out and buy a house that costs you thousands and thousands of dollars and you can only live in it, plus pay all of your bills, plus live, okay, and take care of your family if you and your spouse are working. Don't do that. Okay. The unnecessary stress we add to ourselves, we add to our families, we add to our kids by not like thinking outside the box, and honestly, like be paying attention to like, and again, I'm not like a financial advisor. I'm going to tell you that, but just be thinking about, so let's just say this, let's say like, you're like, Autumn, well, you're fucking a little bit too late because my wife and I, or my husband and I, we are in, we're in a home that costs $3,000 a month, and my cop income is $1,500, and her, a month or whatever. I can only allocate $1,500 a month, and she can only allocate whatever. And we're living pretty tight. Okay, so maybe you're like that. So here's the thing: they have these things on loans. They have a lot of options. I know at credit unions. I know at least that because I just witnessed this a couple of weeks ago. I had to go in there for something and they told me some options. Like they have insurance so that if you were to get injured and you can't pay your loans, like they'll step in. You have to pay for the insurance or whatever. That could be an option as well. So like let's say like you are living a little bit tight, but you need to get a new vehicle because it's run down, you're running it into the ground, blah blah blah. Just be thinking about that stuff because I just need to tell you something. You are in a job that is going to, it can very much, like more likely than not, you will get hurt in some way and in some fashion. Now, some of you are going to be able to work through the pain. No problem. Okay. I was working through the pain, but then what could happen is what happened to me when you go and try to get yourself fucking therapy. And next thing you know, they're taking you off the road because they don't know if you're going to be crippled or not because of how something is hitting a nerve or, you know what I mean? Just all this shit. And you're like, woo, 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 what? Right? Like life altering things. So no, obviously you're sitting here and you're like, I work out. I take care of myself. It's never going to happen to me. But the truth is it absolutely could happen to you. I worked out 5 out of 7 days. You can ask anybody in my police department. I always ate very well. You can ask anybody on my agencies and they will tell you that. And I still got hurt. and it's like, fuck, damn, shit. Literally, that's literally, I'm glad that, you can sit here and listen to me talk pretty upbeat and optimistically. But the truth is, Sheepdog, is I was absolutely not. There was a lot of times during my injury where I was like, Adam, what the hell? I was talking to my husband. I'm like, Adam, I don't even know what I'm going to do. Like, this sucks, and I went as far as, I was business coaching, teaching women how to build businesses. And I made a very successful business of that. But like, look how far away from law enforcement I went. I mean, I even hated the job. I literally began to hate the job of law enforcement. Yeah. I mean, crazy because now like, look what I do. But, one of those things that, yeah, I wasn't prepared. Nobody talked to me. I didn't have a mentor. I didn't have somebody who could talk me through it. I didn't have somebody telling Adam and I, preparing us for, an injury. We didn't have that. What we did have is we each have like our parents who have been through their own sets of separate bullshit and just sat us down and luckily we're like, hey, listen, this is the shit that could happen. And we know because we've gone through it. So don't base your bills off both incomes, base everything off one income. And then what you can do is if things are good, then you can just, pocket every single month, you can pocket one entire income and look at the savings you can build. And we were like, this is cool. And you can look into doing other things you can look into instead of just like putting it in a savings account, which is great. You need to have some in a savings account, but your money's not doing anything for you there. So then you can look into investments and, the Roths and, all these other things, but then you're just set up. And because I know with some Roths, like you got to look into it again. I don't know, but there's some Roths, like there's no penalties for you to, take out money early. There's no penalty in that. So you can pay your taxes or whatever when you put your money in, and then when you take it out, it has grown, and then you can just take it out early. And like, let's say you get injured and you need a little bit of, you need that for something, right? So, you definitely need to be setting yourself up for success money wise there. And that doesn't, and listen, and here's the thing too. This is something that, you gotta be thinking about. Just think about it is, attorney fees, co-pays. Cause I'm going to tell you, for me, workers' comp didn't cover. That was a fight. Workers' comp absolutely did not cover me because I didn't get hurt. I didn't get hurt in like a situation. It wasn't a fight. I didn't fall. It wasn't like a situation. It wasn't an event that they could like write down. So they fought it. Everybody fought it. And, I'm telling you, that's a mind fuck all on its own, because you just think, you think everybody's got your back and then they don't, that like, I've talked to you about that. It's a whole other, discussion, to be honest. But you need to have money to be able to pay for, the co-pays. Like I was paying $40 every single day to go to a therapy. So what's 4 times 5? So I was paying $200 a week out of my pocket. That didn't include the gas to go to and from. And I was traveling 30 miles from my house one way to get some, So you got to be thinking about that. And thankfully I had a savings and I absolutely dipped into it, So just things that I want you to be thinking of and things that I want you to be aware of. And the reason why, Sheepdog, is because this is reality. No one's talking about it. And hey, I faced it. I lived it. I'm still living it. I can just tell you this. Yesterday, it was a beautiful day here in Maine. It was fucking like 65 out. So it's t-shirt weather for Maine, just so you know. My Floridians and Texans down there. Well, that would be like winter jacket weather for you guys. And I spent all day long out doing yard work, okay? By the end of the day, I couldn't move. Ask my husband. I had to ice my back, had to ice my knee. I had to fucking stretch out my hip because my hip flexor plays into my lower back. And like, that's just a whole clusterfuck. And yeah, so it doesn't ever really go away. All right, Sheepdog. It just never really goes away. And anybody with a back injury will tell you that. No matter whether you get surgery or not, it never really goes away. So the best thing I can do here is prepare you. I can help you to develop your warrior's mindset. I can get you prepared. I can have you start turning, those wheels in your head, start having discussions with your spouses, see what you can do to create, if you need to create extra income, see what you can do to be doing that. Be thinking about different jobs that you can do remotely from home, just in case. Get your foot in the door now while you're still an active cop, right? Like that's smart. If you got your foot in the door somewhere while you're still an active cop, because that's a heck of a lot easier to get a job when you're an active cop than when you're not. And just say, hey, I'd like to work 5-10 hours a month or something. You know what I'm saying? Something so that if you were to ever get injured, you could do this other thing. Okay? That's thinking ahead. That's forward thinking. That's the stuff we need to be talking about on Instagram. None of this fucking, other, who's got the most tactical items and who's got all this stuff, cool stuff, Well, that stuff is wicked cool to look at and stuff, but like this is the stuff that's going to save your sanity. You know what I'm saying? So I hope that you are enjoying season 3. This is now episode 3 of season 3. If you're enjoying it, I would really, really appreciate you going on to iTunes and just leaving me a review. An honest review. I'd really appreciate that. If there is something within the realm of how to survive getting hurt on the job, you can absolutely email me anytime. And if you are not hanging out with me on Instagram, I'm at The Lady Sheepdog. If you are a Facebook guru, you can come into I got a Facebook group, but I'm going to warn you that is not where I hang out a lot, but it's called the Sheepdog Nation Podcast. You can come on in. We have over 300 people in there and they're a cool group, but I primarily hang out on Instagram and in my group called the Sheepdog Family, Leos only, law enforcement officers only. So we have a really, really good group of people in there. Again, the link will be in the show notes. You're more than welcome to check it out. You can message me if you have any questions at all. We have a lot of cops who have messaged me and been like, I've been so hesitant because I don't want to come across weak. But this group isn't about weak people. I'm telling you right now, you come in, we got fucking some badass cops. They're just smart. They're just thinking ahead. They just want to go, they want to be around people that are going places. They're not into just sharing the memes. You know what I'm saying? They're like, all right, I'm here. I'm learning something. These officers, yeah, they're fast forward. And so if that's you, get your ass in. No excuses. All right, Sheepdog Nation. I will talk to you.
And that was another episode of Sheepdog Nation. If you enjoyed this podcast, please go to iTunes and let us know by giving us a rating. If you have questions that you want answered by Autumn in the podcast, submit it by going to the link in the show notes. As always, stay safe and watch your six.